Hello and welcome to Hot Topic, the show on which we discuss the controversial, the political and the provocative in East Yorkshire and Northern Lincolnshire. Today I'm joined by Martin Vickers, Member of Parliament for Cleethorpes and Immimgham for the Conservatives, elected in 2010 for the first time with a majority of 4,298, ousting his Labour opponent Shona McIsaac. Martin Vickers has been outspoken since joining Parliament on energy, on transport and on migration. He is not obedient to his party whips. Martin Vickers, thank you very much for joining us. Hello. First of all, I'd like to ask you, you're the Member of Parliament for Cleethorpes and Immimgham, a Humberside Member of Parliament, and we're in one of the poorest parts of the country. What are you doing to help?
Well, I'd like to think that we are making considerable improvements. I mean, the big issue, of course, is growth and jobs in the economy, and there are optimistic signs. As I go around, I get a sense of optimism from the business community that wasn't there a year, 18 months ago. And also, as you've pointed out, we have significant problems, particularly with getting our young people into work and the skills that they have, and the apprenticeship schemes that the government has introduced. There's the excellent facilities here at Grimsby Institute, and also the catch facility at Stallingborough does a great deal of work with bringing our young people up to the standards that modern industry requires.
But that modern industry isn't necessarily here. What this area needs is a new industry, a new economy. Mm. Is there anything on the horizon there? One hears so much about natural energy. Mm.
Well, certainly the hopes are that the offshore renewable sector will be the renaissance of the local economy, and there are good signs to show that that is possible. Already we've got something in the region of 25-30 vessels sailing out of Grimsby in support of the offshore wind turbines. Those are jobs on there that weren't there before. Much depends on the investment. First of all, the government are working hard to attract the Siemens onto the North Bank, and here on the South Bank we're only a few days away from hopefully getting the approval of planning permission for the Able UK development at Killingholme. Is
it really a Humberside industry though? The turbines are made elsewhere outside this country, they're assembled here. They're probably not necessarily by local Humberside people. And then they're taken out and stuck in the sea again by people who aren't necessarily from Humberside. That money isn't necessarily spent in this part of Eastern England.
Well, that is or has been true. It's less true now than it was because of the training that we're doing here in the Institute at Lincoln University and elsewhere to give our local people the skills. Plus, you know, the sort of fishing heritage, the maritime industry that we've had in this area does attract people into that. And the thing about the Able Energy Park is that it will be maintenance, R&D, possibly construction.
It's, I mean, the fishing heritage here, it's a long time since there was a fishing fleet here, and seamanship isn't genetic, I'm afraid. We don't particularly, at Grimsby or in Hull, we don't particularly train matelots anymore. Is it really? I mean, is it sailors? Is that what we're looking for here?
No, absolutely. That's just one aspect of the whole thing. The energy park at Killingholme has the possibility of thousands of jobs over the next 5-10 years. Admittedly, that's still a time into the future, and much depends on decisions made elsewhere, such as by Siemens and so on. But the government and local MPs across the political spectrum have all been working very hard to do all they can to attract them.
We have a little bit of a bind with energy here on Humberside because we can't win coming or going. The green energy industry is a potential future for this economy, and yet it's the green costs of new technology in the energy industry which is putting all our bills up. So we complain about rising fuel bills, but that money is what's buying a potential part of the future of this economy.
Much of what you said there it echoes what I said to the Prime Minister when he met a group of MPs only a couple of weeks ago who were particularly concerned about green investment in their constituencies. Yes, we want to do all to attract them, but we have a great many intensive energy users here, petrochemicals, refining, steel down the road in Scunthorpe and so on, all of who rely on competitive energy prices when compared to our continental neighbours. So yes, we don't want to do anything to jeopardise existing jobs, but with the right support from government, which is now forthcoming, I think we can marry the two together.
If I can take another aspect of the infrastructure of this area, you're a member of the Select Committee on Transport. A recent report, the Select Committee, which you endorsed, the Select Committee has complained that changes to local government a couple of years ago, in 2010, that allowed local government to hinder the development of ports infrastructure.
Well, I'm not entirely sure that's fair. I mean, actually, although I'm on the Transport Committee now, I wasn't actually a part of that particular inquiry. It was before I joined. But what I think is important about it is that it endorses the campaign that I and others have been involved in to ensure the access to the ports is improved, and that is vitally important for Immimgham. But the changes in local government, one of the problems is that many foreign ports throughout the EU are either state or municipal owned, and they qualify for a different grant regime to those that are in the private sector, such as ABPs. And we're trying to, shall we say, to use that hackneyed phrase, provide a level playing field.
Right.
I don't actually think that the changes to local government have hindered it, and the creation of the local enterprise partnerships actually consolidated it.
You don't think the answer, in order to get that level playing field with Europe, is renationalisation of the ports?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, that's not even on the Labour Party's agenda.
Your government, the Secretary of State for Transport, Patrick McLaughlin, has just raised the amount of money being paid into the Highways Agency for the redevelopment of roads. Yeah. In 2015, it'll be £1.4 million, and 6 years later, in 2021, £3.7 million. How are you going to secure some of that for Humberside?
Well, we've already had a number of key meetings, myself and neighbouring MPs cross-party. We've already got the upgrade of the A160 into Immimgham approved. We've got the Immimgham bypass approved, and of course we had the Humber Bridge tolls reduced. So we've had considerable investment. The next part of the jigsaw in terms of the highway network, I think, is to improve the A15 between the A180 and through to Lincoln.
Can you please just change the surface on the A180?
I'd love to. It would cost £53 million.
It would be money well spent.
Well, I agree, and certainly the residents in sort of Healing and Stallingborough who can hear that constant rumble would echo that. And it's a campaign that's been going for, predates me in terms of who the MP is. But yes, it is an important issue, and it is but because these concrete surfaces never seem to wear out, it never gets to the top of the maintenance sort of league table, but we are pushing hard. We'll
have to live with that horrible noise. We'll have to break now for a moment, forgive me. Please join us again after the break for more on money, migration and coalition. Be back in a minute. Thank you.
Catch up with Everything Community. Engaged Monday to Friday at 4:25, and catch it again at 7:35.
Welcome back to Hot Topic. I've been talking to Martin Vickers, Conservative MP for Cleethorpes and Immimgham. Martin Vickers, can we turn to one other government policy that's come up recently this autumn, this early winter, the Chancellor of the Exchequer's autumn statement. He's made certain changes to the rates on businesses. Is that going to help in Cleethorpes and Immimgham?
Throughout the country, the business rates is a very big issue particularly for small businesses and high street shops and the like. I met with the Federation of Small Businesses only a few days ago, and that was their #1 issue as regards the autumn statement. So the concessions that the Chancellor's given will be very welcome, as will other benefits such as the abolition of national insurance contributions from the employer for younger workers.
But is it really the business rates that's closed down all the shops, all the empty shop fronts we see in our towns, especially around here? It's the business rates, no doubt, were harmful, but if there isn't a market, there's no way you can support the supply.
No, well, you're quite right that retail is changing dramatically with online shopping and the like, and it is a simple fact that over the next 10, 20 years we are going to need a lot less retail units in towns than has been the tradition. And that in many ways is sad, and we want to do what we can to keep the life in our high streets. But as I go back to the point, the FSB and others do emphasise the damaging impact of high business rates.
One other point from your role on the Transport Select Committee before we move on to a wider international horizon. Am I right in thinking that the other day you were in committee advocating a road tax for cyclists?
No. No, that's complete myth, and actually there's been some very slipshod journalism reporting it.
Disassociate myself from that slipshod journalism entirely.
No, I exonerate you entirely, but the reality is the Select Committee is there to interrogate the witnesses and to extract their opinions, and the cycling community, a number of lobbyists on their behalf who we had before us, quite understandably from their point of view, want more money spent on cycling. And I think any organisation or group that wants more taxpayers' money, you should challenge them, say, well, actually, are you prepared to contribute more yourselves? I think we should be judged on our report when we publish it, which I assure you will be a very balanced one, rather than, I say, some rather lurid headlines.
No little round cardboard discs on the handlebars.
No,
okay.
No. There was never any intention of that.
Good.
Say merely intention of, are you actually prepared to contribute?
Moving on to more of your activity down in Westminster, you're supporting an amendment at the report stage for the immigration bill, hoping to delay the possibility of migrants from Romania and Bulgaria coming here from this coming New Year's Day 2014, and you're hoping to delay it to 2018. First of all, before addressing the principle behind that, why is it better in 2018 than it would be in 2014?
Well, it may not be. Who knows what the situation will be. The likelihood is that our economy will have pulled out of recession by then, and we won't be impacted so much on the potential jobs of our own, particularly younger people. The simple fact is we struggle, GP surgeries, social housing and other public services struggle to cope with the demand from the existing residents in the UK, and to open the doors widely to a community that may or may not come in large numbers. We don't know. Unfortunately, the last government signed us up to this. The present government have been putting barriers in the way, as it were, and also tightening up on benefits for potential new immigrants. But I would hope that this amendment, which will probably never be voted on, will push the government into even more robust measures.
But why would you object to the migration? You're a conservative and presumably a believer in the free market. Your website celebrates the late Margaret Thatcher. And we remember Norman Tebbit suggesting that those without work should get on their bikes. It's a long cycle ride from Bucharest or Sofia to Immimgham and Cleethorpes. But why, should there not be a free market in labour? And if I'm an employer, forgive me, if I'm an employer here and I'm offered two people of equal capacity, one of whom is from Bulgaria and Romania and charges less for his work, why am I not free to choose that person?
Well, you are at the moment, and of course we have the free movement of labour. Personally, since I'm not in favour of our membership of the European Union, I have reservations about the whole concept. But yeah, I admire those who get on their bikes in Bucharest or whatever and come here, because they contribute greatly to society in many ways. But the
including financially, economically.
Well, certainly some reports will argue that. But the reality is that my job is to articulate the concerns of the community that I represent, and there is widespread concern that this is not what they want and not
that's not entirely your job as a Member of Parliament to represent the community that you represent. There's also a greater philosophy behind this, and you are a Conservative. There is a free market element. Is there not a contradiction between that free market ideal and libertarian ideal, I suppose, and I won't call it nationalism, but a sort of a parochial protectionism, as it were?
Politics is full of contradictions. It's an inevitability. No, you're quite right that I am sort of as it were in a leadership position in the community, and I've got to persuade people of my views or what is considered to be the greater good. But there has to be a balance, and the fact is that there is widespread hostility to the lifting of this transitional period at the end of the year. And one of the chief roles of government is to maintain coherent society where where the tensions are not too great. And I feel that the tensions that will increase more if we allow this to happen. Coherent
society at the cost of coherent philosophy, perhaps, there.
Very possibly, but as I say, the politics is full of contradictions.
I just want to take you mentioned your attitude to the European Union as well, and of course it's because of the membership of the European Union that Romanians and Bulgarians have access to this island. Many business people would argue that the European Union is terribly valuable to us, and that being part of that free trade association with a free market in goods, services, as well as in labour, is enormously valuable to this economy. And we are on a port river. The Humber is an extension of the Rhine, and that's our great artery into that market. Do you not think that there's a risk of economic loss if we come out of the European Union?
No. And for the simple reason is, are the Germans going to stop selling their BMWs to the UK if we're not in the EU? No. And there are countless
other... Are we going to stop selling our cars to them?
There are countless other examples. I'm in favour of breaking down trade barriers. I'm not against a free trade arrangement with our European neighbours. What I am opposed to is the great European project where I want to get back control of our borders, our fishing, our employment policy, our agricultural policy.
Martin Vickers, thank you very much. That's it for today's hot topic, but if you have any issues you'd like to discuss, any arguments you'd like advocated, any ground you'd like stood, any bones you'd like picked, please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you, and you can get in touch with us via info@estuary.tv. That's how to talk to us, and we very much want to hear what you have to say. For now, goodbye.
Find out what's top of the Sports Discussion League this week. Join the team for new episodes of On the Bench, Tuesdays at 6.